You can have $1,000,000 sitting in the bank and still get turned down for a loan after you retire. The bank cares about your paycheck much more than it cares about your savings. That's one of about a dozen things that disappear when you retire, and the bank is one of the easy ones. A few of the others are gone for good, and the only time to deal with them is while you're still working. I'll walk you through all 12 and sort them into what you can rebuild and what's gone the day that you hand in your notice. Let's start with the paycheck because everything else hangs off of that. The obvious loss is the check itself. The real loss is everything that the check let you do. If you don't have any income for the year, then you can't put another dollar into your 401k, an IRA, or a Roth. Those contributions require earned income, and now you don't have any. And the HSA closes too once you're on Medicare. So your last few working years are the only window that you have left to fill up these tax-advantaged accounts. After that, the door is shut. Right along with that is the employer match. So if the company matches part of what you put in, that's a guaranteed return that you're not going to get anywhere else on earth. The day that you walk out, that match walks out with you. Let's say that your employer puts in 50 cents for every dollar that you contribute, up to 6% of your pay. On a $100,000 a year salary, that's $3,000 a year going into that account that's free money essentially, plus everything that it would have earned. If you're over 50 and still working, you can also put in extra every year on top of that normal limit. Retiring a few months early and giving up that employer match can be a bad trade, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment. The third thing that disappears is your borrowing power. A bank doesn't qualify you on the size of your savings, it qualifies you on your income. So once your salary stops coming in, a mortgage or refinance a home equity line of credit becomes extremely difficult to get. Some lenders will count your retirement account if you've set up steady monthly withdrawals from it first. That can make it look like you have income coming in again, but it does take some planning ahead of time before you apply for that loan. There are some special loan programs out there that count your assets, but fewer lenders offer them and the bar is getting higher and higher. The cleanest move is to set up a line of credit while you're still working when the answer is an easy yes for the bank. It's a strange feeling getting turned down for a loan that you could easily pay off in cash that same afternoon, but that's how the system works once your income stops. Number 4 is health insurance. And if you're retiring before 65, this is a big one. The coverage you had through work ends and the bridge to Medicare is suddenly all on you. You can buy a plan on the marketplace and there's a subsidy that makes it affordable, but that subsidy comes with a cliff. In 2026, that cliff sits around $62,000 of income for a single person and $84,000 for a household of 2. If you go over that, even by a single dollar, then a couple can jump from a big subsidy to paying $1,500 to $2,000 per month out of pocket. The source of your income during those bridge years decides which side of the line you land on. If you plan those withdrawals carefully, you can stay under the cliff on purpose. Number 5 has to do with your benefits package, and it's easy to forget about until it's already gone. The group life insurance and disability coverage that you had through work usually can't go with you. Some plans will let you convert that to an individual policy, but usually the price will jump significantly. And if your health has changed at all since you signed up, replacing it on the open market gets really expensive really fast, or it stops being possible at all. If anyone depends on your income, it could be a spouse, a disabled child, an aging parent, this is one to lock down before you leave while you still have the coverage and the options. Number 6 can cost you the most, and it tends to be the one that people understand the least. When you retire, you lose the ability to recover from a big money mistake. Think about a market crash while you're still working. Your accounts drop by 30% and it stings, but you're still earning income, you're still paying your bills, and you might even still be buying into the market at lower prices. You just have to give it a few years, the market recovers, and you're whole again. Now, if we run that exact same crash the year after you retire, you're not buying in anymore, you're having to sell shares to pay your bills at the worst possible prices, and those shares are gone for good. That's why it's so important once you're near retirement to build an income floor. so that you have enough steady cash flow that's not tied to the stock market to cover your basic bills without selling anything. An income floor could be comprised of bonds, CDs, high yield savings accounts, dividends, although those are going to be tied to the stock market still, rental income, secured real estate notes, syndications, could be any mix of those. For me, my own rentals cover my living expenses, so a bad year in the market doesn't force me to sell anything to pay the bills. When the market drops, you let the growth side sit and recover while selling it. This means that when the market does drop, you don't have to touch that money, you can just let it sit and wait for it to recover instead of selling it off. If this idea of an income floor makes sense to you, you can see how to build that for your specific situation in about 30 seconds. I put together a free quiz at incomeoverwealth.com/map. It places you on a 6-stage income ladder, and it shows you what the next move is. All right, we're halfway there. Those were the first 6 money doors, and almost all of those lock on your last day of work. These next 6 are a little bit different. They're still just as real, but with most of them, they're things that you can rebuild. Number 7 is your routine. For decades, something outside of you decided when you got up, where you went, and what your entire day looked like. The day that you retire, that entire structure is suddenly gone. The first week feels like freedom. By month 3, you've already reorganized the garage a couple times, and you're not totally sure what day of the week it is. Many people, most people, do better with some structure in their day and in their week. It's on you to build a new structure around your health, around your social circle, and some hobby or something that you're actively working towards. Number 8 is your identity. For your whole adult life, people have asked you, so what do you do? And your answer to that, whatever it was, has become a piece of who you are. Once you retire, the career that you had is no longer the thing that you necessarily identify with. And so for anyone whose title did a lot of the heavy lifting, especially in their social circle or their status, it can land harder than losing the income does. The research backs this up. The transition out of work is tied to a real risk in the rise of depression, especially when it's forced on you instead of chosen. This is not a reason to keep working, obviously, but it's a reason for you to decide who you are outside of the job before you walk away from it instead of 6 months after. Number 9 is your social circle. For many of us, our friendships are really built on proximity. You see these people every day because you happen to work in the same place. When you take that building away, within a year, most of those daily connections start to slowly fade. And it's nobody's fault. The main thing that you had in common was the job. So if some of those friendships are ones that you want to have survive after retirement, then you should invest in those now outside of the workplace, not just at work. And I would do this while you still see those people every day at work, not after the retirement party when it's even harder to see them. Number 10, I find this one really interesting. This is recognition. At work, when you do your job and you're good at it, you tend to get some feedback about that. Maybe from your boss, maybe it's even monetary like a bonus. Maybe it's just from a coworker. When you finished a project, you get a thank you for some problem that only you knew how to solve because you've been at the company for, 10, 20 years. Well, that feedback loop that you were getting disappears once you retire. And it leaves a bigger hole than a lot of people expected. And a lot of times you're not going to get it at home from your spouse. So you have to replace it by being useful to people who matter, to people in the community. This can be mentoring, volunteering, teaching things, because you've got a lot of experience. Number 11, when you retire, you lose your permission to spend your own money. You spent 30 or 40 years training yourself to save money every month and to not touch that nest egg. Then, one day that they call retirement, you're supposed to just flip a switch and start spending down that pile that you've been saving up for 30 or 40 years. Turns out that switch isn't that easy to flip. And this is why a lot of careful savers underspend their entire retirement and die with more money than they retired with. Running out of money is not the most common ending. Leaving a fortune on the table is. This is where having a steady paycheck-like income stream can really help, because people will spend a check that they trust is going to come in the next month. When all you have is a big lump sum and you're supposed to be taking from that to spend money, people tend to just sit on it instead and preserve it. Learning to actually spend it is a skill. Number 12, saving the best for last, is time. The good, healthy go-go years are not unlimited, and they start counting down when you retire. Everything that you've been saving for, that you told yourself you'd get to someday, the trip, the project, the long visit with the people that you love, all of it depends on health and energy that you're not going to have forever. Out of everything on this whole list, this is the one that you can't get back. Once you spend it, it's gone, and there's no special program that you can apply for. So you can spend the money and spend the years while you still got both. And that's the list. 12 things that are gone the day that you retire. Some of them you can rebuild, like your routine, even some of the relationships, and some that are gone for good, like account contributions, matches, borrowing power, insurance. Those almost all share the same deadline. Real quick, I want to share a story from a subscriber named Jason. He left a comment on one of my videos. He said that being debt-free is the thing that matters the most in retirement. He retired with comfortably less than the $1 million plus number that everyone throws around, and he describes his retirement as comfortable and low stress. I love comments like these because they point at one disappearance on the list that you actually get to choose. You can make your debt disappear on purpose before you retire. That can change everything. Every one of these losses that we talked about, especially the paycheck, hurts a lot less when you don't owe anything. When your expenses are low because you don't have monthly payments, the income that you have to replace shrinks. The vanish paycheck stops being so scary because you don't need that much money to cover a life that you've already paid for. That's what Jason did, and it's why he can retire on less and still feel relaxed about it. If you kill the debt while you're still working, then half of this list loses its teeth. If you want to hear more about why so many careful savers end up dying with 5 times more than what they retired with, and why they regret it, then watch this video over here. I go more in depth on that topic, and I also share the simple fix for how you can get the most out of your money before it's too late. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.